Welcome to a special edition of Top Lines and Tales, and this week we're going to go across to USA and chat with some familiar friends. So I'm delighted to have on this podcast, we've got Tom Burke, and it's always an honour to speak to you, Tom, and you're co-author, of course, of the Aberdeen Angus history book that we've just written.
Yeah, it's a really an exciting book. I tell you what, I have, even though I've been deeply involved, I have trouble putting it down.
Indeed, and let's just go through to the people that don't know Tom Burke, and there won't be many of those, certainly not in the USA. When it comes to Angus, Tom's conducted over 10,000 cattle sales, I think, in 47 states, 7 provinces of Canada, Caribbean, Mexico, and Scotland. Right, Tom? You've earned your spurs.
Yes, I have.
And again, I've got a record in 2000, and this is unbelievable. 2007, Tom was away from home for 341 nights and boarded 412 planes. But Tom, you're still doing that.
Oh yeah, I'm every day I go somewhere and I stay very, very busy.
Yeah, and you said you're off out this afternoon. You're still going. You're conducting sales still, Tom. You're certainly at them all.
Well, of course, the sales season isn't going to start until the 1st of September, but tomorrow I'm going to the Kentucky State Fair. The next day I'm going to the Oregon State Fair, and then on to the New York State Fair. I try to go to as many Angus activities as possible during the summer months.
It's unbelievable. And I suppose you know everybody. Everybody knows you, and these fairs, obviously, do they change over the years? But Tom, have you seen a bit of change in the breed?
Oh, you're darn right. The cattle types change. The people change. It's just what I call a revolving door of Angus excitement.
It's Angus excitement, it very much is. And Angus, I mean, I'll call you Mr. Angus. I think everybody else calls you Mr. Angus as well there, Tom. And you I think I'm right in saying your first association with the American Angus Association would be in 1955. Tom, that's nearly 70 years ago.
Yeah, we would have had the commercial Angus before that. And I've been a member of the American Angus Association since 1954.
54, so that is 70 years this year then, Tom. That's an incredible achievement, and to still being involved in it too, and not just involved in it in breeding it. Of course, you became president of the Minnesota Future Farmers Association in 1963, I think, and that was probably your first involvement. Pretty young then to be president of anything, really, Tom.
Yeah, of course, that was our Minnesota Junior Angus Association. And through the working with Dean Hurlbut, who was the director of junior activities at the American Angus, we were able to get one of the first 3 state junior associations organized.
Okay, and that, of course, has become a backbone now and very much underpins the whole Angus Association, those juniors, don't they?
Yes, our junior program is terrific.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'll just go through where you moved on, because you worked for the Drovers Journal and then for J.B. McCorkle, and J.B. McCorkle is a name that cropped up in our book, and another incredible man.
Yeah, J.B. McCorkle was the first full-time Angus sale manager in the Angus breed, and I worked for him starting in 1968. He passed away in 1972, and I've carried it on since that time.
You've carried on running those sales there. As I said, you've run 10,000 sales, but you still run sales, get involved in running sales these days, Tom?
Everyone I can.
There you go. And the sales management business you've been ever since. And we mentioned in the book that we've got, of course, those that aren't aware that Tom, myself, and Dr. Bob Hook have written the history of the Aberdeen Angus breed in the US and the UK and worldwide. And in that book, one of the chapters, and there's 2 or 3 chapters, I would say, involve the Chicago International Exposition, and that was a fantastic event. And you were on the board of that, I think, Tom, back in the way.
Yeah, the International Livestock Show was kind of the master key of the Angus breed from 1900 until it closed in 1975. Anything that happened at that event in the Angus industry had a major impact on Angus cattle.
Okay. And some well-known people. Well, maybe we'll go into a couple of the people that were involved in the breed, or keystones, should I say, in the breed there. But the show, as you said, closed in the 70s and then moved to Louisville. And I think, again, you were very much involved in that movement.
Yeah, and they moved there in '74, there were two shows, one in Chicago and one in Louisville. But then Chicago did finally close down totally in '75, and Louisville kind of took over that spot.
Okay, and still going.
Still going
Mm-hmm.
for 51 years.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant, brilliant. And the sales that you've been involved in, I know for our UK listener base, you were involved in the cattle sale in Scotland as well. There, can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, we had the privilege of doing the sale for Geordie and Julia Suter at the Dunlees. It
Mm-hmm.
was an on-the-farm sale. It was extremely successful. It was during the last World Angus Forum
Mm-hmm.
that was held in Scotland, and we had a huge crowd. It was a landmark day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And again, something we've covered in the book. And you mentioned you worked closely, I suppose, with the American Angus Association over the years, and they're some outfit now, a big outfit, big company, a lot of different factions to them, aren't they? The American Angus Association.
Oh, there's a lot of factions. That's putting it pretty mildly. They have a lot of entities like Certified Angus Beef, which has really been a rousing success. The whole general economy of the Angus Association has been one of prosperity.
Hmm. Okay, and as you said, the different ones they handle the junior youth as well, don't they? And all the different
Yeah.
factions and hopefully very much behind us with writing this history. And as I said, myself and Bob are privileged to have you on this as one of the authors of this book. And I think originally your association with Dr. Bob and Bob had written the Shorthorn book, is that right? And I think you saw that one. Maybe that's how you stepped in.
Yes, he and Bert Moore, who was at NDSU, North Dakota State University, worked together in doing a Shorthorn book that they did a tremendous job. And this Angus book is somewhat follows that same basic design.
Hmm. Yeah, and as you said, Bob did such a good job of that. I think you were delighted that we could take it on into the Angus and stepped in and got involved in and what in the book? Well, let's just go through a little bit of the book then. A lot of it is it's pictorial, isn't it? It's a pictorial history as well as a written history of not just of the Angus breed, but of cattle and the livestock world in general. The pictures, images are fantastic. Have you seen all those images before? Is that just old hat to you?
Well, I contributed some of them, and Bob had a number of them as well as you. It was a joint three-way effort, and we were able to really put it together that I think it made it an easy read. And besides being about Angus, it basically was touched us on the beginning of the cattle industry, and
Mm-hmm.
so in the world. So it really is a complete picture of what went on and what's going on.
And you're right, and I'm proud of it as you are, and as Bob is, and we'll maybe speak to Bob in a second. But say the pictures, the images that are in there that sort of tell that story. But then sometimes some of the story isn't about Angus at all, though. It's a history of people, I think, isn't it? More than just
Yeah,
a history of cattle.
yeah. Bob is a great writer, and he was able to capture. He was able to do a great job in capturing people and what I call the background history of the cattle industry.
Hmm. Hmm. And could I ask? I mean, a seasoned Angus gentleman as you are yourself, would you have learned something from that? Is there anything you would have learned that you maybe didn't know?
Oh, I did. I read it, and I did learn something. You
Mm,
darn right,
mm.
especially about the early beginning of the Angus breed.
Okay, great. And is there anything that stood out for you in amongst that? Can you pinpoint anything, or is it just the whole book just keeps you interested?
Well, I think when you start, you just want to keep reading because when you get done, you want to put a big purple bow on it and say, "Man, I enjoyed this."
Well, I'm glad you did, and I'm glad we all did, and we enjoyed writing it as much as reading it too. And who should be reading this book, Tom? It's not. Is it just us oldies, right, or is there other people should be reading this?
Well, I think anybody first of all, anybody that's interested in Angus, it's a must read.
Mm,
Anybody that's a history buff, it'll give you a good solid background of the early history of the cattle industry. And anybody that just wants to know about agriculture and people in the UK, America, and around the world.
Fantastic. And you have a great university, land grant university system over there, and I think maybe some of that might be interested to some of those students.
Yeah, I'm sure we're probably going to try and get a book into the library of all of those land grant institutions.
Brilliant. And we covered, I think the idea of this book covering the history of Angus was to cover significant milestones and things and events and people and bulls that influenced the breed going on through its 150-year journey. And was you certainly contributed a lot of that because you've written a lot of this stuff before about the bulls that shaped the breed. Is there any bulls that you would say, or give me an example of a couple of bulls that maybe stood out as a milestone in the Angus breed?
Well, in the very early history, it'd have to be Earl Marshall. Earl Marshall was bred by W.A. McHenry. If he were alive today, he'd be 100 years plus.
Okay.
And he was a gigantic influence on the breed. The early history of the breed in America, he was about in every pedigree. He was born in Denison, Iowa, and he lived to be about 12 years old. And of course, this was all natural service, and he sired about 400 registered calves. And then we go on to the next era, to the EXT era, in-bar emulation EXT. He was bred in the in-bar herd in Montana. He probably was the heaviest used bull in modern day history in the Angus breed. He was a bull that sired some tremendous daughters. He had a great son named Right Time. He's just monumental. When you see Right Time in a pedigree and EXT, it commands immediate respect.
Really? Okay. Okay. And the Eileen Mere again has been written about that sort of generation of those bulls too.
Yes, that would have been heavy in the 50s and 60s and the 40s. J. Garrett Tolan from Pleasant Plains, Illinois, bought a bull from Otto Battles named Eileen Mere Fourth. And Eileen Mere Fourth sired Eileen Mere 15th, who sired the 85th, who sired the 32nd, who sired home place Eileen Mere 500. And Garrett Tolan bred those bulls, and he used them all in his program. And he basically line bred the Eileen Mere line and became a major, major factor in the breed.
There you go. That, ladies and gentlemen, listening to this, that's why we've got Tom Burke involved in this history of this book. It's just a walking encyclopedia, just to rattle those names and numbers off the top of your head there. And when we go on to people, significant people, I think that have been very much involved in the breed and its change. Are there people in there that were absolutely paramount to how the breed moved and shifted and turned?
Well, that kind of runs in cycles. It runs in cycles. Like today, you have like the Shop Angus Valley herd in North Dakota. You have the Sitzes in Montana. You have the Keneally's in Nebraska. You have the Jorgensens in South Dakota. All of them have made major, major contributions to the breed. You got to remember, we register over 300,000 head a year. We have about 20,000 active Angus breeders in the United States of America. So consequently, we have a lot of diversity. We have a lot of different opinions. We have a lot of people that are working hard to make this breed even better.
Okay, and we go back the way. Are there people that you could mention who have done that? The name Leachman springs up all over the place there, but there's a lot of people, well, McCorkle as well. Are those some of the guys that put the milestones in that turned the corner for the breed?
In the in the earlier years, there you'd have Lee and Lester Leachman and their partner Alan Ryan, who was Ankeny. You'd have Ted Ryan at Moles Hill. You would have basically Otto Battles, who was at Rosemere Farms. You'd have the Fullertons at Sunbeam. It was a cast of characters that really built an empire.
Right. So a cast of characters is a great way to describe some of those. And I'd like to think we've covered all those people, some of them most of them in enough detail or in a great deal of detail, should I say, that makes this book just so exciting, Tom. And just another subject I would say, obviously, because we've got the British side or the Scottish side of this breed, as well as other parts of the world covered in this, but performance testing, and you'd be involved in the early days of that, Tom, I guess. But the performance testing, the guys in the US there, you're on the front foot before us, weren't you?
Yeah, of course, we started, it started in the United States with a PRI, Performance Registry International. That was a group of independent breeders who banded together to start up a beef evaluation program. And then the American Angus Association came up with AHIR, Angus Herd Improvement Records. And that has really been successful. And it's been going on since the late 60s.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, and that's what took the breed forward. And Bob and I have had this discussion, and I'm going to bring Bob in there. Bob, I think you're on the call here somewhere. Can you drop yourself in there, Bob? Here he is.
Sure.
How you doing, Bob?
Great, great. How are you doing?
I'm fine. You've got Tom on the line there as well.
How you doing, Tom?
Hi, Bob. I'm doing good.
And we're just going through some of the milestones of this, and obviously the fact that we've got Tom involved, and I'm sure you were listening just now, the way Tom could just rattle off, animal after animal after animal, and could probably fill hours and hours of this podcast. But he's been very instrumental, isn't he? And a springboard for both of us, Bob, to work from.
Oh, I mean, Tom, if you want to get motivated, be around Tom. He is, I mean, he will fire you up and get you going. And I don't think Tom ever has a bad day. And he's a joy to be around. And so he gets you interested. He gets you fired up. And I mean, you really want to do stuff when you're around Tom. And he brings up ideas, and you want to act upon them.
Thank
No,
you,
that's
Bob.
good. Great, and well said. And to say we both enjoyed having Tom involved in this, and more of it still going on. And there's one, I think it was a statement that you put in there, Tom, earlier on, and it mentioned something to do with sand there. Can you just remind me what that was about?
I said that what makes the Angus breed so exciting and so intriguing is the fact that it's built on shifting sand. There's always something new and exciting happening in the breed. And it's a breed that doesn't stand still. So since we started this broadcast, something exciting has happened somewhere in the Angus industry because it's a breed of action.
There we go. And it probably should have put. We could have called it shifting sand. I think, and Bob, that would have actually been would have stood it well for it. But that's a great statement.
I think you're right.
And you, Tom, you've won awards. Bob, you've won. I've won nothing, but I did win a swimming award when I was at school, I think, but that's about it. But Tom, you've won Promoter of the Year, Kentucky Colonel. You've won many associates accolades, more than most. I'm sure you must have a house full of awards there. Are we on track for an award with this thing? What do you think? Is this one? Is this one going to be out there and stand out in one of the things that you've done that you feel proud that is worth something to celebrate?
Oh, I take great pride in this book, and I really enjoyed working with the two of you because I think we basically combined our knowledge and experience and did something that doesn't happen very often. We put it down on paper for other people to evaluate and see exactly what was happening.
Okay. Well, it's again a great statement from you, and we believe that we've left something for the next generation. These history books have been written before. I know Bob and I did a recce. I think we've over 100 books that we've drawn information from, not just on cattle, but on all sorts of other things. And this one, you think might be a reference book for people in the future, maybe?
I truly believe that 100 years from now, people will be still looking at this book and evaluating the information in it.
Well, I hope so too. And Bob, you think the same way? Oh, no, I think we brought out a lot of things that would have been lost to time. Just like the information on when the office went to Harvey, Illinois. Tom, do you want to mention that because that was unknown why it went to Harvey, Illinois. That was his first permanent office.
Yeah, see, the Angus Association started in 1883 at a meeting in Chicago, Illinois, and the first office was in Independence, Missouri. That's ironic because that's also the home of a former president of the United States, Harry S. Truman. And then, in fact, if you go to Independence today, you'll find Gudgell Street, and the first secretary was Charles Gudgell, and he lived in Independence, Missouri, which would be just about 10 miles outside of Kansas City, Missouri. And then the office then moved to Iowa City, and then it moved to Harvey, Illinois. And Harvey, Illinois was close to Chicago. And then about 5 years later, it moved to the Pedigree office building at the Chicago Stockyards and stayed there until 1955 when it got its new permanent home in St. Joseph, Missouri.
Wasn't it interesting, though, on Harvey that it was a utopian community? Didn't that kind of take you by surprise?
Yes, it did. And there was a lot of competition in 55 to get the Angus Association to come to their city. In order to get that done, the city of St. Joseph, Missouri gave the American Angus Association 5 acres of prime land free of charge.
Really? To build their offices on. And that's what it still is,
yes.
Yeah. Incredible, and that's the information that of course that that's in this book, and as Bob says, that information that probably hasn't been seen before. And just tell us a little bit, Tom, about or tell our listeners a little bit about the Angus Hall of Fame, because they said you're Mr. Angus, but you run the Angus Hall of Fame, and that's a must visit for anybody that's in the Angus business.
Well, we're in the sale management business. We manage about 125 to 150 sales a year. But in our office, we also have a collection of Angus memorabilia. I like to think we have the largest collection of Angus history in the world. We have 105,000 Angus things. Anything connected to Angus cattle, we try to have here at the American Angus Hall of Fame. We have a lot of visitors, and we're really proud of it. And you can't see it all on your first visit.
Really, somewhere I've never been, and looking forward to getting there, and we will do one day. And I think we're all going to try and do a bit of promotion with this book. The three of us now on there. I believe there'll be a representation at Louisville, which is in November, I think, and I'm hoping to be at the Angus convention in October in Fort Worth, and Tom, you'll be at some, if not all of those.
Yeah, and that's the Angus convention is in the first week of November.
Okay.
And that always draws a nice crowd. It's going to be in Fort Worth, Texas this year.
And Bob, we're hoping maybe you'll be at the Northwestern in Denver.
Yeah, and I might try and go to the Angus convention if possible. We're going to set it up with a historic Angus ranch there, and so some of that will be announced, but we'll have a presence there, that's for sure. And back to the Angus Hall of Fame, that is one thing that I could kind of kick myself. We did not really properly cover the Angus Hall of Fame in the book. And I'd like to apologize on this podcast to you, Tom, because it's a big part of the Angus. You have the physical history. We did the written history, but you have the physical history there in the Angus Hall of Fame. We should have really given that more time in the book. And so, that's the one, I think, miss we did in there, and I'm sorry for that.
We'll do it. We'll do it on the next one.
Do the next
exactly.
One. And we're writing the history of the Angus, and that'll be even more even more fun. And Tom, other people again probably wouldn't know this about you, but you don't just Angus. You breed sheep as well, and you've bred Suffolk sheep for a long time. Won a string of championships and in Louisville and various places. And we didn't cover sheep in this book, obviously, but maybe we should write a history of the Suffolk sheep.
Well, they're thinking about doing it, but I've had Suffolks for about 50 years, and I'm equally proud of them.
Yeah, there we go. There you go, Bob. There's a job for us.
Yeah, well, I used to run a ram test and some other things, and used to work with sheep, but I've been away from it for a few years now. I actually helped pick out the sheep for the intercollegiate livestock judging contest for 3 years. So.
Okay.
way back. I have a sheep background, but it's pretty rusty, I must say.
Well, the three of us again go there because I got sheep. I'm a sheep background too, and I still keep pedigree sheep. Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. You said you were heading off this afternoon, flying somewhere else around the world there. So I know that you're busy. But just again, going back to this book, people, if you want to contact Tom directly to the Angus Hall of Fame, we can take orders over the phone for the book and a credit card over the phone, or more streamlined, maybe to go to www.angushistorybook.com, and you can get online there and order your copy of this great book. And as we said, we're coming up now to the end of the into the autumn. Of course, these will make fantastic Christmas presents and Thanksgiving presents for everybody.
Yeah, I think you'll really be pleased with it, and I think we owe a special thanks to Bob, because you've heard of babysitters. Well, he was a book setter on this book. He really put a lot of effort and energy, and with his writing skills, it really made a masterpiece.
Absolutely. Well, I personally thank you as well, Bob, for that contribution, and thank you.
No, I thank you very much for that. But I think our skills complemented each other very well. I know whenever I was writing about the different eras of bulls as we moved through the type change and performance, I got a lesson in pedigrees from Tom as I went through that, and that was quite a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then I would look up the bulls, and then we go through the next set of bulls, and it was really fun. And the Perth stuff that you brought through is just gold. It was just wonderful, and how exciting at times those were in the Angus and the cattle industry, with the short horns and other breeds. And it was truly so much to be learned. And that's why I think we all do this kind of thing, is we want to learn, just like Tom, who knows more about Angus than any human being, said he learned about the early history of Angus because it's different than his thought was thought. This book brings out a documented difference in how Angus was put together, and that's exciting. It's really exciting, and I'll tell you, I've got a lot of interest from people that aren't even in the cattle business. They just love the history and the way this lays out the history of the US, UK, and worldwide. It's a lot of fun.
Certainly is a lot of fun, and a lot of people, as you said, are coming back to us with great reviews already. And let's keep this book rolling there. We've got plenty of books there to sell there. So you folks out there, you want to just dive in there, get a copy of this, go online onto the angushistorybook.com and have a look, and it'll tell you a little bit of what's about in there. And you want to ask any questions, just fire them to myself or Bob or Tom, and we'll help you through that. And as I said, we'll have a representation of this at some of the events there. There'll be books available for sale leading up to that period, Christmas period as well. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you both. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you both, and let's hope we carry on that relationship working again.
Thank you so much, and I enjoyed this immensely.
Yeah, this has been fun as always, Andy.
It's great to have a chat to those two legends of the cattle industry, and what a fantastic mind those two guys have, and been such a privilege with me to work with them on this Angus book there. I feel very, very humbled. And if you want to know more about the Angus book, as I said, www.angushistorybook.com. We do have a Facebook page now as well, Angus History Book Facebook group, which you can go and join in with. And of course, you can go onto our Top Lines and Tails Facebook group and join in there, and always keep up with all the action and everything that's going on with Top Lines and Tails. And we're always thankful to Harborough for our sponsors with Top Lines and Tails podcast as well. So go in there and have a look. And haven't ordered your copy, then fine, keep it in mind. If you go on the website, you can register and you'll get kept up to date with what's going on. The books now are available and being shipped in the UK at last. We've had a bit of a hiccup getting those here, but they're here now. So obviously with the build up to the Christmas period later on this autumn, there'll be a bit of a rush on those, but make sure you get in there early and get your copy ordered of the history of the Aberdeen Angus in the US, the UK and worldwide, co-authored with Dr. Bob Hoke, Tom Burke and myself, Andy Frazier.